So I'm reading from John 21, and this has got a striking title, Jesus and the Miraculous Catch of Fish. John 21, 1 through to 14. Afterward, Jesus appeared to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. It happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. "I'm going out to fish," Simon Peter told them. And they said, "We'll go with you." So they went out, got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net to the right side of the boat and you'll find some." When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment round him, for he'd taken it off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from the shore, about 100 meters. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you've just caught." So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the 3rd time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. You'll notice in this particular passage here that there are 7 disciples. We get different groups of disciples, don't we? We know about the 12, obviously. We know about the 3 that were taken on special moments. We know about the 120 when we get to the beginning of the Acts of the Apostles. But here there are 7 of them. And Jesus had asked to meet the disciples in the Galilee. So they were following an instruction that they'd been given. That's where he would meet them, in the old familiar place, the place where they'd been called, a place where they earned their income and business as former fishermen for some of them. It was a place that was full of memories of their calling. You can imagine going back to there after all they've been through in the cross and despair and pain and suffering of the cross. You can understand why it was so important to go back. You go back to the familiar. I think there might have been moments in your life and mine when we've gone through difficult times and we've gone back to the familiar, because that's what gives us strength and that's what gives us confidence as we look forward. So we see the despair. You see it quite clearly in verse 5 in this passage. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" Well, it must have been very sad because they hadn't. They hadn't. No fish at all. And this is what they did, fish. So we're not talking about amateurs. We're not talking about people who knew nothing about fishing. They were filled with despair. But they were then given an instruction. We read in verse 6, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you'll find some." The instruction comes from Jesus. And John speaks to Peter. It's a very important moment here when they did this, because they recognized that it was Jesus. It is the Lord. And John, when he speaks those words, is really communicating something very, very important. And then we hear about this large harvest, 153 fish. It's caused a lot of preachers, a lot of people to explore what that might mean. Look, I've always taken the view, it's just a lot of fish. And a lot of fish is a lot of fish. After you've caught nothing, to have that kind of haul. We're told that Peter, who had thrown himself into the water so he could be on, gets into the boat to help drag the boat, because there's that much in that harvest. It's a harvest. It's a harvest from nothing to everything. It's a harvest that shows them they still need Jesus Christ. He's there not just giving them instructions, he's there to be alongside them, to walk alongside them and produce a harvest. In the same way that we heard from our friend just a few minutes ago, all of us need to be encouraged as we go into places, especially new places, to help other people. It's a real moment of truth. It's a moment in the risen Lord's experience, because we see so many passages about the resurrection. We have those moments when Jesus meets them behind locked doors. We have the moment when they realize that the tomb, but this is very different. They're back in a place that is far from Jerusalem. It's a place in the north, in Galilee, where they meet the risen Lord again. And when they meet the risen Lord, they begin to capture something of the vision. Can't they help but hear him saying, go into all the world? Can't they hear him saying that truth that's spelt out right at the beginning of the mission, that they will, from this moment, catch women and men? Well, they'll begin to do that. But first, they need to meet the risen Lord afresh and anew and be ready in this catch of miraculous fish. Begin to see what can actually happen when they really take hold of this mission, of this message, and this passion.